Wrestling promos. As far as doing a wrestling promo, what is the difference between a good promo and a bad promo?
Well, a bad promo, you forget the point, and you don't sell any tickets. A bad promo doesn't sell any tickets. A good promo sells tickets. And like I say, it just kind of comes down to common sense, you know. I'm not sure if it's in your play. It's your place in your promo, depending on where you're going, you know, what your point is, or who's doing the promo. Whether you need to talk about where it is, what time the show is, and what building it is, and those kind of things. Maybe someone else is doing that. But sometimes you're required to, address certain key points that are important. You know, it's like the Civic Center this Tuesday that you're gonna, so you have to remember the things that you have to say. But
when you did your promos, did you get key lines to say?
Sometimes. Okay. But I think it's good to. I found it very hard for me. I was never the greatest promo guy, but I could be if I knew. And I got better, as you can tell through my years in the business, when I knew what I was talking about. And when I knew what I was talking about, it was easy for me to talk. But I think when I never really knew where I was going, and one thing you want to do if you're a babyface, I think it still stands today. You never want to promise something that you're not going to deliver. You never ever want to say, I promise everybody that on this Friday I'm going to beat King Kong Bundy. No matter what, I'll beat him. And then you don't do it, you're killing yourself. Because they don't believe anything you ever say after that. So don't ever promise something that you're not going to deliver. If you're not going to go over, just speak positively about the match, but don't say I'm going to beat this guy no matter what. Because, when you fail, then you become a guy that's, nobody believes what you're going to say. And you may think that, it won't matter, but it does matter. It really does matter. I had a hard time as a babyface when I first started. My confidence, I never had the confidence to speak like I was going to beat anybody because most of the time I didn't win. And I was a little reluctant to talk about how I was going to beat Bad News Brown, in the Rosemont Horizon this Saturday or whatever it is, when I knew that I wasn't. And so people say, his promos, Bret Hart's promos weren't very good. But, I never really had a lot to say other than cliches and stuff like that. And you know what, if you can come up with a good cliche, like because Stone Cold said so, or the best there is, best there was, those things can help you, especially when you got measured time. Like most promos, you got the set time. You got 30 seconds, or you got 45 seconds, or you got a minute to talk. It gets down those last 3, 4, 5 seconds, and I can see that WWF, the numbers would be running down. You got 4 seconds, that guy be 1, 4, 3. And that you got 3 seconds, and you got to end it exactly on that cue. That's when you go, the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, and it ends, and it's tight. It's cool. If you got something like that too that works for generic kind of interviews, go ahead.
Do you feel that, scripted promos are hurting the business today?
Yeah, I think they're killing the business. I think the whole scripting, everything's killing the business. It's a total against the logic and the grain of the whole business. And I don't believe, and I don't know who's exactly in charge of these things, but in a lot of cases, WCW is a good example. They had and all these guys telling me what to do. I remember Terry Taylor telling me what to do. And I was like, I like Terry Taylor. He was a very nice guy. But I mean, what kind of crowd did he ever draw? What kind of business did he ever do anywhere to tell me what to do tonight? He's going to tell me what works and what doesn't. And, so I'm thinking, you can't have, like Eric Bischoff, what did he ever know about wrestling, really? Nice guy again, too, but I mean, it's like, who is he to tell, Bret Hart or Stone Cold, what to do tonight? This is what you're going to do. I would say Vince McMahon's an exception to the rule for a guy that was never in the business in the sense that he ever worked in the ring, at least not when I was around. For him to tell you what to do, because he understood it, I think, from being growing up with it and everything. So he was certainly entitled to express that. But most guys that never put on a pair of boots can't tell you what to do in the ring.
How difficult was it to do like live promos when the crowd wasn't reacting to what you were saying?
It can be pretty tough. I don't know that it was a problem for me, in the sense that I was different than a lot of guys. In the sense that I usually went out there and talked. As I got more confident, I talked to my fans and I talked to the audience, and I didn't care if they were making noise or not. I think I was one of those kind of guys that had kept it kind of a low monotone, and I came across like I was talking to somebody, and I wasn't trying to be a character. And I don't know that I was being a character. When I talked up there, I talked as Bret Hart.
Now your match, well, not your matches, but your promos in your feud with Shawn in '97 were like they were pretty real. Was that right or wrong with that program? What do you feel?
Well, it's a shame. If you look at '97 and you look at how the business was shaping, I mean, people were just not buying stuff. Yeah, it was like, how do you make people believe this is real? Because you're getting stuff where I can remember if you watch, and it only got worse as it went on. But, you could be choking somebody like Steve Austin, you're choking him on the floor with a microphone cord or something, and you're really choking the hell out of him, and people are waving the signs at you, and, nobody's taking anything serious. They're just kind of goofing off, and, trying to get their faces on TV and stuff. And it's hard to fight that kind of stuff. So my attitude was to try to make it seem as real as possible. And if you look at what I did with Stone Cold, you look at Stone Cold in my interviews, they were pretty intense interviews. I mean, it seems to me that it came across pretty strong that we hate each other's guts, which is totally not true. We got along brilliantly. We were great friends. We were great workers that way. We worked a lot of heat between ourselves that was all pretend. And it should have been the same thing with Shawn. When you look at two baby faces and what we were really like this, how you look at it, like how do you make fans like you guys believe that maybe this is real and that this is a real feud here? And I think the fact of the matter is that Shawn and me, it was an understanding well into before we even worked the Iron Man match that we were going to come back and this is the way it was going to go. I walked out of the ring, we didn't shake hands. I was going to be the baby face with a chip on his shoulder, and I was going to start attacking his characters. I think that I maybe made mistakes in the sense that sometimes I went over the line, but I think I was going over the line sometimes in the effort to do really good business with him. And the sad thing about all that is that we could have done such business. We could have worked. I mean, people thought the heat was real. And all we had to do was get a handle on how to measure that, making sure that we didn't cross over where you're saying stuff about Sonny and you're not saying stuff. I'm not saying stuff about Shawn in a way where it's hurting his feelings for real. And I think there was a lot of times that I did hurt Shawn's feelings for real. But I can say this in defense of myself that I would always say to Shawn, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk about you posing for Playgirl. I'm going to really rag on you about it. Is that okay? And he's like, cool, that's cool. Go ahead and do whatever you want. And I think Shawn was cool with it. But as soon as I walked out of the curtain and I'm in the ring and I start doing it, I had such a way of being so real, so credible. It was like, ooh, you really zinged them. And it's like, people were just, that's going to piss them off. And I'm only working. And I think Shawn would watch my interviews and I think he would get really, it would be so serious that he would mark out like a wrestling fan and go, oh, that does hurt my feelings. Now I am mad. And I think it just needed to have a better dialogue between us. And I don't take, I understand that maybe I pushed a lot of buttons on Shawn that way. It was never my intention to get things so agitated that we couldn't do business together. My whole idea was to do really big business together for maybe years together. It'd be I can remember telling Shawn all the time through that whole year. People, even the guys in the dressing room, think we really hate each other. But I was only working. I was always talking about Shawn Michaels, who doesn't exist. He's a figment. Michael Hickenbottom, that's a different thing. I wasn't going to say anything bad about him. When I talk about him. I'm talking about Shawn Michaels. I'm talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not talking about Steve Williams. I'm not talking about Terry Bollea. But when you're talking about Bret Hart, it's a little different. You're talking about Kurt Angle, you're talking about Kurt Hennig. We're real people, with our real names. We have, it's a little different when you're a character, and you have to differentiate between the two. And especially if you've got a gimmick name, I want to call Stone Cold Steve Austin, a ruthless hyena. It's not really. I'm not talking about Steve Williams, And I think you have to measure it that way. And it's a shame that Sean couldn't understand that it was all. We all would have done big business if we could have. We ended up working a shoot instead of shooting a work.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.